First of all, welcome everyone back. I see some new faces. We're extremely excited to have the group that we have on campus now working, trying to build a championship caliber chemistry, culture, and everything that goes with being our best.
James, you want to kick us off?
Dusty, start with two. Just with last season's success and the talent on this roster, I think a lot of fans are expecting big things. I guess just how energizing or encouraging is it that, not just the people inside the program see what this team's ceiling can be and what this team's capable of?
Well, it's certainly it's nice for our players. It's great for the attention that it brings to our program and the eyes it puts on our guys. It also helps in recruiting. It helps season ticket sales. It helps bringing the students in. So, but when it comes time to winning and losing games and being our best, it doesn't really matter. But all the peripheral stuff, it's certainly important.
And a few years ago, when you were at FAU, you're coming off that Final Four. You entered the next season top 10. With more attention and hype. I guess just what did you learn from that experience in terms of internally managing or handling the heightened expectations and all the preseason buzz?
I don't think we did a great job of surviving that year without some of the things that ultimately hurt our team. And so we'll lean on some of those experiences, but it's such a different situation where that team was talked about at exhaustion because of the year prior and bringing everyone back. There's so many great storylines, and this team's just so different. The expectations, we're not going to shy away from them. We think we have a very talented roster. We have a group that works well together. They're connected at this point of the year, so it's just a matter of can we continue to block out all that outside noise throughout the season and focus on what's important and not get too high or too low.
Dusty, I remember a comment you made last year that you did not anticipate the Big Ten to be as physical as it ended up being. What else did you learn from last year that you can apply to this year, including merging new players, transfers, and such?
Well, the merging of new players, it depends on who you're merging, and last year was tougher because we had so many injuries and eligibility things in the summer where we didn't have our group together. Other than a few minor injuries and maybe a guy's out for a week or here and there, we've had this group together for several weeks. So they've gotten used to playing with each other. They know each other's games better than our team probably did last year. And what was the other part of the question?
Well, you talked about the physicality aspect. What do you anticipate maybe that you have to address this coming year that you experienced last year in terms of the Big Ten?
It's one of those things. It's kind of like being a head coach or a parent. Until you experience it, it's really difficult to, I guess, paint a real clear picture of what it's going to be. I think our guys who played in the Big Ten, we have 4 really good returners. And even though statistically we lost our top 3 guys, the 4 we brought back, we feel like we're very, very integral in the success we had. And so we have a nucleus of guys that have experienced it. And then you factor in Merez, and you solve some of the physicality issues in the off-season recruiting. We feel like we did that with Merez. Adai's obviously very familiar with the Big Ten, coming from UCLA last year where he had played for 1 year. And, those big guys, each year they're in college, they tend to improve. And so we have a lot of guys that have done it. They've walked the walk. So the transition shouldn't be as daunting as it was last year. And then obviously Yaxel, being an older player that's very experienced playing college basketball, that should help as well. And Elliot Cadeau, it's not as if the ACC is a pushover league either. So.
Dusty, I wanted to ask you about this freshman class, but specifically Trey McKinney. I was told by Matt and Hannah this offseason that since the start of the offseason, he's actually down 18 pounds. So I guess what work has gone into that, and have you seen the difference in his game? Is he faster? Is he quick twitcher, more quick twitch? Like what have you seen with that weight loss?
When I look at him now, he obviously looks different than he did in high school. Much more athletic, much slimmer. But when you see guys every day, you don't notice the amount of weight they've dropped because we're with them at least 5 or 6 days a week. He's moving better. He's staying in front of the basketball. Just like any freshman, he has really good days, and then he has some other subpar days, just like everyone on a roster. But he's been awesome to coach. He wants to be better. He wants to win. He loves representing Michigan. Trey McKinney is a lot of what's right about college basketball.
On your left, Coach, Steve?
Dusty,
Oh, I'm sorry.
can you take us back to a game at Alabama Birmingham in 2024 where you were coaching Florida Atlantic and Yaxel had quite a game? What are your recollections of that game? And talk about just the kind of the craziness of college basketball that now you're his head coach at a different place and he's at a different place.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. The reason he's still able to play another year is the same reason, maybe not Namari. I'm not even sure. There's so many different rule stipulations of why guys get an extra year to play. It seems like he was at UAB for a long time, and he was a thorn in our side, and they were one of the better teams in the league. At the same time, we were one of the better teams in the league. So we always felt like when we played them, it was two of the more talented teams in the league. And Yaxel had some real unique abilities where we knew he was a really good player, and he could drive it, and he could score in a number of ways, but he could get to loose basketballs. He was an excellent rebounder. And we just felt like he got better every year. He's only been playing basketball a few years, and so we felt like his ceiling was extremely high. Putting him in the environment to play against the size, strength, and athleticism of our roster would help him. But yeah, it's odd to think that he's playing with us, but he was, I do think that he admired the way our guys played the game and how connected our group was at FAU. So there was always a mutual respect from both of us.
And then with Trey, you talked a little bit about your first impressions of him. What's something that he can do that maybe you weren't aware that he could do now that you've coached him a little bit?
We feel like we had a pretty good idea of what Trey can do. He can play make. He makes shots. I think he's just been a little bit better version than what we anticipated, and we expected a lot out of him.
Tony?
Yeah. Hey, Dusty. When you have a roster this deep that can do this many things, it feels like maybe the main question is who works the best together. I know that was something that you guys were piecing together last year, even though it's still early. Are you starting to get some of those signs? Are there particular lineups, or how do you see sort of the minute allocation and that type playing out?
The minute allocation, I don't know yet. We still have several weeks. As far as combinations, yeah, there are certain guys that have played well with maybe this point guard's played a little bit better with this center, or these two wings have played better together than these other two wings. But we still have a lot of information, a lot of data to gather before we make those decisions. We do have a deep lineup. There's going to be shared sacrifice. One of the mistakes I felt like that I made with that FAU team that we brought everyone back was that we talked about how we could increase tempo, we could increase our defensive intensity, and we could find ways to generate more possessions, and everyone would get a little bit more because we knew everyone would want more. In hindsight, I should have done a better job of explaining that there wouldn't be any more individually. There's just not enough. Like our more has to be more team success, has to be more fulfillment in our the guy to the right and the left of me doing well, and so that has to be our team. I could see this being a group where we might have 6 or 7 games where we have a different leading scorer every night, and our roster has to be okay with it because we're chasing something bigger than personal ambition or individual accolades.
And then with that, you guys have a ton of confidence in this roster, obviously. Is there any one person who has developed more, who you brought in, who you knew? I know you said maybe not Trey because you had high expectations of everyone, but who is just even next level from what you thought?
I think one of my few gifts as a coach is I see the best in people, and if we brought these guys in here and we spent time and resources recruiting them, then we thought they were pretty good in our situation and style of play, the team setting. There's so many variables that contribute to these guys' success that we just try to find guys that fit the way we want to play, to fit the way we coach, that want to be coached the way we coach, because it's different than the next guy. Everyone has a different coaching philosophy and coaching style. So we had high expectations of everyone on our roster. Obviously, some of it might be delayed expectations, but I can't think of one guy that I could sit here and say, man, he's been a lot better than we thought, because we had pretty high expectations of all the guys, especially the portal guys. I will say our returners have improved drastically. All 4 of the guys that were in the rotation last year are much better basketball players. Roddy Gale the last 2 weeks has probably had as good of a 2-week period as anyone in our program. And Namari Burnett, as you guys know how I feel about Namari, his level of consistency, his routine, his mentorship to the young guys. He just brings so much to the table. And then you factor in Will Cheddar, who's becoming a real shooter, someone that's able to shoot on the move, get it off quick, not just be a spot-up guy, and he's able to defend the ball. And now LJ Kaysen, he sprained his ankle, tweaked his ankle a week or 2 ago. Prior to that, he was playing at a significantly higher level than he played at last season. And so I think probably that the 4 returners have been the biggest, most pleasant surprise, I would say.
Just a reminder to use Izzy and Amanda for the mics. Go ahead, Andrew.
Hey, Dusty. I guess it seems like there's more talent on the team this year than last year. First thing would be, do you agree with that? And then I guess regardless, what makes you optimistic it'll all come together like it did last year? You know, it doesn't always, I guess.
Well, I'm optimistic by nature. Even if we have a less talented team, I believe that we'll figure out how to put the puzzle together in the right way, the best way for us. And so there's that part of the question. The other is I don't think anyone on last year's team or this year's team would disagree that we have more natural ability, more proven success on this year's team than last. You know, Danny and Vlad were back for the Central Michigan football game when we had practice, and both of those guys commented about how physically big and strong we were, and just how much we're improved as a program in 1 calendar year. So I think those 2 guys, having lived it for a year and then seeing a small sample size, agree with that assessment as well.
Hey, Dusty. Last year, a team with a lot of transfer portal additions. Similar thing this year. I think early last year you were impressed with how quickly the team came together. What lessons from that can you learn as you try to piece the pieces together this year?
Well, I was impressed with the way the team came together last year, but at the same point as we were last year, I think we're ahead of the curve now. This group's gelled. I think a big part of it is our culture and environment are more established. And so the expectations are clear. I think in our locker room, the veterans, the staff's been together for a year, so the veterans are able to translate and help the younger guys, I guess, probably express what's important to us as a staff and what's important in our program, because we don't all have the same values. What I think is extremely important as a coach may not be the same thing that a coach on the West Coast thinks is important, and they both could be paramount to winning and losing, but it's just, and so there's just a number of factors that allow you to be ahead of where you were last year. But I think the staff, I think our staff's ability to identify guys who are unselfish team basketball players that want to do it this way, and we never really sugarcoated anything. We were very transparent in recruiting. This is what it's going to be. This is what it looks like. This is what our vision of what the whole thing's going to look like. We have a long way to go before we get there, and so they all in the recruiting process bought into that, and then throughout the summer and fall, we seem to be connected with what needs to happen for us to be our best.
Yeah, I've got a couple. One, you talked about knowing Yaxel and his history and all, but are there things about him that you have learned just over the last few weeks and months that you didn't know as much?
Yeah, absolutely. We've learned a lot about Yaxel that we didn't know before we signed him. I do know that he's already changed his day-to-day routine. I mean, for example, Namari Burnett has a really regimented workout routine, and yoga and stretching and prehabilitation stuff, and I think probably 90% of the days Yaxel's been just with him as almost like just mirroring his pre-practice and pre-workout routine. And so there's some things like that he's improving on. The one thing about Yaxel is I do know that when the lights are on, he moves better. He's quicker. He's faster. He's more athletic. So he even has another big jump to make. But his versatility, he played a different position at UAB, and he was incredibly successful there, and he helped them win a lot of ball games. But we're playing him a little bit differently, and it's probably been. I've been impressed. He's further ahead of where versus where I thought he would be at this point.
Okay. The other thing is it tougher these days to achieve the kind of chemistry that you're seeking with so many guys coming from all over the place? And what have you seen early on in this group along those lines?
Up to this point, and it could all change tomorrow. We've had great chemistry. That's been probably the biggest, most pleasant surprise. Is it more difficult? Yes, because you don't have as much time, and we're all being pulled in a lot of new directions. But I think when you bring in quality people that have the personality traits and desire to do it together, it makes it easier. But it's always going to be difficult, whether you have 8 returners coming off of a great season or you have a group of new guys. It's never easy to form a team, especially with the distractions and things that come with athletics in today's climate.
I know it's early, but are you starting to get an idea of what this team's identity can be, and what do you want that identity to be?
I want us to be one of the best defensive teams in the country because we're big and we're athletic and we have positional versatility. Offensively, we've shot it much better than we did last year in practice, and much better than I anticipated this year. Going into the summer, I felt like we would really need to hang our hat on offensive rebounding, and we've shot it at such a higher clip. There's not as many rebounds, and we haven't been quite as good as I thought we could be. And so we're still trying to figure out exactly what our identity is going to be, but we know that we're going to share the ball on offense. We're going to play with great pace, and defensively, we're going to put very versatile, determined defenders on the court and see what we can evolve into.
Charles?
Yeah, what went into scheduling the exhibitions against Cincinnati and St. John's, and what are you hoping to see from your team in those?
Well, I'm one of the few coaches that I've always said I would like to get beat in exhibition. I want to play teams that can beat us, to expose some weaknesses. I want to play against great coaches. Cincinnati made sense for a number of reasons. They have some real unique pieces. Bob Miller came from FAU. They have a new roster. Their center from UCF. I've watched him a lot. He's a very talented player, so they have size up front. Their guards can really defend. They have shooting, so I thought just it made sense, and I have a lot of respect for Wes Miller. They've been a pressing team at times. They've played a number of different styles based on what their personnel dictated, and so we just thought it made sense. Night before a home football game, put some fans in, get an early glimpse of our players, and also really expose some weaknesses, because sometimes you can't really expose your own weaknesses in practice because of how you're wired. For example, with our switching defense, sometimes the screening and cutting is different against switching than it is against teams that don't switch. So we have to recalibrate at times in games. And then obviously St. John's going to the Garden, we felt like would be an experience for our players. Obviously the fans have agreed it's been very well received, and we're going to learn a lot about our team. St. John's might have the best roster, most proven roster in college basketball. And so there's no better way to see exactly where you are than to play against really quality teams before they count in the win and loss column. And it also gives us a chance to see the new guys against older, really quality athletes in a game-like environment with game intensity, and the lights are on and we're in uniform. So it made sense on a number of fronts.
Now that you had a few months to look at it, what do you see in the look where you have both Merez Johnson and Ade Mara on the floor, and then when you throw the curveball of having Yaxel out there with the two of them, what does that look like for you guys? Well,
Yaxel, as I've said, he's as much of a guard as just about anyone on a roster, and so his versatility is unique. And he voluntarily started picking up 94 feet guard and point guards, and he's done it as well as anyone on our roster. maybe Elliott and LJ at times have guarded a little better in the full court, but he's kind of taken that challenge on. So I think just anytime you can play different styles, and then you ask about Merez and Adai playing together. Adai is an elite passer. Merez checks a lot of boxes as far as physicality, athleticism. He's kind of our enforcer. He's been out with a minor injury, so we haven't had a chance to tinker as much offensively with those two guys together with spacing and whatnot. But without a doubt, when you have really good players, they can find ways to play together, and that's kind of how we felt last year with Vlad and Danny, that these guys are both really good, and you have really good players. It tends to work out, and so I feel the same way with our guys. But Yaxel's been awesome when we played him at the stretch five. He's been awesome when we played him as a playmaker. So we have a number of different ways we can play. And it might be game by game based on matchups. It might be who's playing better that night. So we have a lot of answers still. We have a lot of questions still to answer.
One guy that's a little bit of an unknown is Malik Cordell. Untraditional background, played a little bit of handball growing up and stuff. What have you seen from him in your months with him? And is he going to be a guy that's expected to contribute right away, or is it more of a project with him?
Well, when we signed him, we thought physically he would be able to play. He would be able to contribute right away. And then obviously you bring in some older guys that you could certainly impact his role this year. He's been a real pleasant surprise. Just thinking back to 10 to 15 minutes ago when I was asked that question, Malik might be the most pleasant surprise so far, because I didn't really know. And even when I went to see him after our season, I wanted to see what we had live and not off film. He had a minor injury, so I didn't get to see him play. Now, we broke bread, and I got to see his environment and his team and all that. But so I didn't really know until he got here, and then there were some visa issues, so he came in a little bit late. But he's been a real pleasant surprise. I mean, he's a hard worker. He's dying to get better. His physicality, you guys want to talk about Big Ten physicality. I mean, you can drop him off in anywhere on these 18 campuses, and he matches the physicality of the Big Ten, if not surpasses it. So he's going to add something to our group that no one else does, and he has a unique ability to set physical ball screens and still get to the rim and catch lobs. So that's something we haven't had a real lob threat, to be honest, since we had John Igbunu at Florida when I was an assistant, and prior to that, Michael Kaiser at La Tech. So we have a couple guys now that are legit lob threats in Malik, Adai, and Merez. So our ability to put pressure on the rim is something that we welcome this year. I'm not saying Will Cheddar didn't have that ability to back up five last year, but
Dusty, kind of piggybacking off John's question earlier about chemistry, it seems that college basketball is more and more like the NBA in terms of roster construction, the turnover in particular building. How have you had to change or adapt to that?
It happens so fast. I mean, we're making decisions with so much with uncertain futures. We don't know what the rules are going to be, and obviously, when players are bouncing around, it's going to affect their education and graduation rates and some things. There's going to be some collateral damage, but man, I just look at it as if my job is to coach basketball, and each year, once we have our team together, it's Christmas morning. The first day our team comes together, it's Christmas morning. So even though it's like the NBA that there are changing rosters, as long as we're finding the right guys, it's still awesome to walk in the gym with guys who want to work and get better.
Quick follow-up. Has it changed obviously it's changed the expectation year to year, but how about the pressure that you feel or don't feel with this new era?
I put a lot of pressure on myself. I don't feel a lot of external pressure, just by nature. It's the way I'm wired. When this season starts getting closer and you start waking up at 2 a.m. wondering if you're prepared, if you've prepared your team in press breaker enough, or if your ball screen defense is going to be good enough, whatever the case. So, no, I don't think so. I mean, this is high-level college athletics. There's going to be pressure. There's going to be coaching changes. It's part of the climate, and it's not as if when there's a coaching change they're eliminating a spot. There's another guy waiting on that opportunity that's worked a long time to get it. So I don't think about all that stuff, the pressure that comes with it. My pressure comes from trying to be the best leader and best coach for this group, so we can be the best we can be, and then also just really enjoy the experience.
You almost alluded to it there with the Christmas morning thing, but the video you guys posted the other day when you were talking about your family's history with coal mining and working electricians and stuff like that. Has the team bought into the message of kind of the gratitude of being able to do this? And then who are some of the people in your life that have inspired you and kind of provided that perspective for you?
Oh, a number of things, and I hate that that's the downside of college basketball now, that you have those intimate moments being recorded, and I didn't realize that. And I think that's, I think that message is across the board on our team. Coach Boynton has mentioned his parents worked extremely hard for him to have opportunities that he's had. I know Coach Joyner, Coach Church's dad was a legendary coach. Coach Miskeen has a very hard-working family. Our players, some of them are in health. Their parents are in healthcare. They work to provide opportunities for their kids, and just it's extremely important to us as a staff that we're appreciative of getting to do this every day. And it's a privilege to walk in a gymnasium and get to coach basketball and help people chase their dreams. So that was more of just a reminder not to take it for granted. And it usually comes during an early morning practice when guys are dragging in, and then the route I come in, you see the construction workers all going towards the dorms, and you see them walking in with their lunch pail at 6 a.m. You just think, man, like, nothing against that. That's what my brother does at a high level, and I have a lot of respect for it. But man, it's a lot more fun for me to get to go in to a gymnasium and coach ball and watch film and travel the world and say I'm working. So, like I said, I don't like that stuff being a part of it, but it also, I guess, shows that we are authentic all the time, that we're not going to hide anything. It's too difficult to try to put on this facade of who we are. But I'm appreciative. My mom, I remember, we had a small house, but the hairdryer at 5 a.m., her getting ready for work, and then racing home to take me to Little League Baseball or whatever the case. So, that work ethic, and had all the coaches in my life that I wanted to be just like them. And where I grew up in my era, there's a lot of pride in being called a hard worker. So we all did everything that we could to be considered a hard worker, someone that's reliable, dependable. And so, myself and our staff, we've tried to carry that over into this profession. That it's going to take some elbow grease, but it's a lot of fun.
Dusty, what do you need from your point guards this year? And when you look at the turnovers, how much of that starts with those guys, and how much of it is like a whole team thing?
Well, I don't want to jinx it, but I mean, we're monitoring the data and the stats last year compared to this year, and the first thing I look at every day after practice is assist-to-turnover ratio, and then I still have some PTSD with our shooting woes in February, and so I look at three-point percentage every single day. Those are the first two things I look at. Usually the managers get us our stats about 10 minutes after practice is over, and we've managed the turnover battle really, really well this year. It might be that the returners are more familiar with our system. It might be just that, we know what cost us last year, from what kept us from being our best. I don't know, but we've handled it better. What we need out of our point guard play. Hey, Trey Donaldson, he got us with 27 wins, Sweet 16, a banner. He was our point guard last year, so I'm never going to say anything negative about him. He made some big plays down the stretch. This year, LJ, Roddy Gales moved into more of a primary playmaking role, and then Yaxel's been a playmaker. We've just done a much better job of making better decisions, of simplifying our approach. And so up to this point, that's been a real pleasant surprise. But, the other team's defense, they have a say in the turnovers as well. So we'll see here pretty soon when we play against the Bearcats and Johnnies.
Go ahead, Tom.
Dusty, this is about Roddy Gale Jr. Last year, a lot of anticipation going into last year, and started really strong. Then had that midseason lull, and then had that big game in the tournament. It's A&M. What did he learn? And I'll ask him this, but what did he learn from that, and how do you see him overcoming such obstacles this year?
I would say that what he learned, and I don't want to speak for Roddy. He's a intelligent young man who's got a bright future ahead of him in sports, in basketball, and whatever he decides after. But I would say that he learned just to keep going, man. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other. He had a really good start to the season, as you said, and then he had a little bit of a funk, and he just kept going. And our season, the season outlook would look a lot different right now if Roddy didn't do what he did at the end of the year. And he had a great offseason. He shot the ball incredibly well. He's playing at a high level of confidence. He just looks much more comfortable. And sometimes players are they're pleasers by nature. They want to please their teammates. They want to please their coaches. They want to please so many people that they're trying so hard to fit in. And there could be a case of just his familiarity with everyone. The environment has helped him be more successful in practice. But he looks like he's ready for a really, really solid season. I'm excited about Roddy.
Yeah, Dusty, at the top, you said that we're not going to shy away from expectations. What do you see as the expectation?
I don't see why we can't compete with every single team in the country on any given night.
Long term?
Yeah, I don't want to sit here and say that I don't think we'll be able to win our first, second, third, fourth, fifth. Yeah, I want to try to win every game, and we're not going to, but we feel very good about the how capable our roster is. Now, does that equate to winning? No. There's teams picked number one in the country last year that barely made the tournament or didn't make the tournament or whatever the case, so that means nothing now. I mean, it means that how I feel, what my projections are, it means absolutely nothing, but I love our team, and I think we have a really high ceiling, and there's nothing that makes me say that, man, we don't have enough of this or we don't have enough of that to beat any team in the country on a given night. Now, are there areas that we need to certainly improve on and continue improving on? Absolutely, but I'm not going to sit here and say that we're afraid of this team or afraid of that team. Like we're gonna try to compete with everyone we're against, and we have very, very lofty goals. But man, that's months and months away, and hundreds of hours of intentional work before we can even, before it's even worth discussing those things.
Hi, Dusty. Yeah, you kind of touched on him a little bit before, but where do you expect LJ to kind of fit in within this lineup while that's either behind Elliott or maybe in a more traditional shooting guard role?
We're trying to figure that out, and LJ knows his long-term potential at the highest levels of basketball is playing the point. So he's going to continue to work on being a better point guard, but he's dynamic, and I think last year he showed us at the end of the year that when you put the ball in his hands and let him go and create some he creates some opportunities for himself and his teammates. So there's a fine line of evolving and developing into something that can help you long term, but also making sure that you're doing what the team needs that moment and that day. And he's a dynamic guard. He's really improved defensively. His body, he's changed. He looks like he's in the best shape of his life. He's communicating better. I could go on and on. Like I said, the 4 returners have been awesome. But, yeah, I think there's going to be nights when we need LJ to come in and facilitate, and I think there's going to be other nights when we're going to say, hey, LJ, man, go do what you do and make some stuff happen.
Hi, Dusty. Kind of on that note, could you talk about Elliott and both what attracted you to him in the portal to want to go after him and how you've seen him kind of gel with the other guys so far? Obviously important for point guards. Yeah,
I'll start with how he's gelled. He's been awesome in practice. And the other thing, his shooting, I read these articles, and Elliott was a good shooter in high school. He didn't shoot it well last year. I think he was low 30s, but he shot 41 off the catch and shoot threes. His percentage off the bounce wasn't great. But he's in the gym every day working on it. He shot it. I think he's a 50% clip, 5-on-5 since he's been here in 5-on-5 scrimmage. So from 3, so he shot the ball well so far. And just watching him shoot, he has great balance. He has a great base. It comes off clean. And so usually that comes down to either confidence, situation, role. I don't know. Obviously, the guys at North Carolina know what they're doing. Hubert Davis he's played in the very last week of the season. So, but yeah, just sometimes situation, new beginnings. I don't know, but he's shot the ball well here, and we're optimistic because of his work ethic and because we do think we have a good defensive team that he's seeing some real game looks in practice. But his ability to get people the ball, to generate easy baskets are probably the thing we welcome the most. I mean, he sees the floor. He understands the point guard position about as well as anyone that I've ever coached.
Take one more, Coach, with Steve.
Dusty, you mentioned earlier that Trey McKinney is, I believe you said, everything that's good about college basketball. Could you touch on all those different aspects of him as a student athlete that led you to say that?
Well, student athlete, I mean, he's obviously a very good basketball player, but he's a real student as well. He embraces the Michigan culture, the campus and environment outside of our building, the people that he's surrounded with, that he's able to learn from. He just embraces all things Michigan, and he wants to be involved in student groups. He wants to be involved on campus. He has a really, really high work capacity. He's in the gym early just about every morning working on his game. He's out and about, taking advantage of all the things that this place has to offer. And he's been very, very precocious as a freshman. Winters as a freshman, and Ricky. Those guys, they've leaned on the veterans to learn and grow, but they've embraced and they've grown. They've embraced Michigan, and they've grown in so many areas already. So ultimately, that's what you want your culture to be, of where the older guys are teaching the young guys the right things, and they're looking out for them for their success, and they're not looking at them as competition for their playing time or whatever case. That they're looking at them as teammates, and they're going to do everything they can to help them. And I think Namari and Roddy and those wings especially took those guys under their wing, no pun intended, immediately this summer. And I think that's a sign of maturity and of being about the right things. So I know I got a little bit long-winded, but yeah, I'm very high on those young group of players.
Coach, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.